point of this is to kind of wrap up the year, kind of talk about, it's a retrospective of the Agile Podcast.
It is. It's an Agile retrospective. How about that?
That's right. A podcast Agile retrospective. I was looking at some, I guess you can call them competitor channels. They're not really competitor channels because they're not doing podcasts. They're cutting clips. So let me get straight into the main thing that I would like to talk about, right?
Okay.
That's how we'll do this retrospective. Instead of listing things out and then voting, I'll just be like, we're going to talk about this now, which is probably the worst way to do a retrospective.
That's fine. It works. There's only the two of us.
Which was clips. First of all, in the, I don't know if you would call it educational, self-help, training, education, I don't know what category, business, science and technology. I think that the drop downs they have in YouTube are like business and science and technology or education. I think those are the 3 drop downs they have for me to pick from, and I have to pick one. And what is your channel about? And then they only give you a certain limited amount of tags. But podcasting I don't think is one of them. Maybe it is, and I don't know what I'm talking about. But at the core of the channel is when I stopped extracting clips, I realized like the YouTube algorithm really beat me up, and I realized that I was going to have to go down one path with one channel, which is either follow what a lot of other people are doing, and I do mean a lot of other people are doing, which is publishing 5-minute clips that basically they don't do 4 C's or whatever. Like, there's not time for it. They just get straight to the point. They state the point up front. And a lot of, like if you watch YouTube videos about how to grow your channel and stuff like that, they'll talk about this in YouTube. They'll be like, you gotta cut all the extra stuff, and you gotta do this, and you gotta do that, and you've gotta have a snappy intro, and you've gotta get straight. Basically, they have some fair suggestions, but the better ones will say you need to get straight into the value of the content. And you see a lot of these clip channels, like ones with like 5-minute videos where they're trying to deconstruct complex topics into 5 minutes. That's what they do. Like one of the ones we were watching off camera before we started. Basically, they'll start and they'll say, hey, today we're going to talk about XYZ topic, and here's the 5 important things you need to know, or whatever. And they'll start breaking it down. Point 1, and then they'll have a little animation on the screen or something, or they'll have some clip art, or if they call it clip art anymore, I don't think they do. I think of it as clip art.
I do too. I think the modern word is images, maybe. Who knows?
I don't know. But basically, they're constructing a very polished, very truncated 5-minute summary of something that we would take and talk about for an hour, basically. So, I don't know, man. I'm on the fence with this topic, and here's why. Okay. Because in order to construct those 5-minute clips, I have no doubt that it takes those guys that do those 5-minute clips, it takes them many hours to come up with. What they'll do is they'll come up with the script, they'll come up with the ideas, they'll do some research about what are the 5 things that I would suggest for a Scrum Master to do to facilitate things.
Yeah.
And then they'll make their list, and then they'll write up a transcript of what they want to say, and then they'll read it off of a teleprompter app or something like that. I could see them doing that. And then they'll look for clip art, and they'll edit it in, and they'll cut things out, and they'll cut it down to 5 minutes. That's fine. That's not really why we started the podcast.
This is true. But I also feel like the ones that I've seen, most of the ones that I've seen are monologues. It's one person doing it. Mm-hmm. And ours, it's more of a conversation. It's hard to go off on a tangent on a 5-minute video. But sometimes those tangents are valid, I think, and interesting. Yeah, well, the problem with a 5-minute clip is you don't get to hear any stories. You can either really give them a super pragmatic, like try X, and if that doesn't work, then try Y, and if that doesn't work, then go get yourself another job or what. You really are very, very limited in what you can convey. The other way to go about it is that you just teach them concept, and then concept. You have some people that are like, concept is useless to me because I need to know how it works in real life. Right. I think it's a tricky spot because there's a place for it, I think, for a 5-minute, because if somebody just wants to learn about something, 5 minutes to kind of find out, not necessarily to learn in its entirety, but just enough to see if they want to pursue that further. Yeah. Then I think that's the right solution for it. But you're not going to learn anything in depth in 5 minutes. You're certainly going to learn no more than just maybe the terminology, or that's about it, right? As a concept, you wouldn't learn there's no time for anecdotes. There's no time for this is the idea, but if you do this, it might work, it might not. If it doesn't work, here's what you do. There's none of that.
Yeah.
But I still feel there's a valid reason why they should exist. I'm just trying to figure out, like, maybe the ratios of them, right? How many 5-minute clips for a given topic. And maybe it's not a fixed ratio even.
So what I was trying to do with the clips before I stopped doing it was I would try to break our points as we kind of flow through points on the podcast. And we flow from point to point pretty freely on a regular podcast. But if you go look at I don't know, I'm making a guess here, but because I do all the editing, I'm probably a bit more informed about guessing on this than anybody else. We kind of float from topic to topic, or at least sub or related topic or subtopic or whatever inside of that larger bucket of topic.
Right.
Every maybe 2 to 4 minutes, we kind of float between the changing topic, air quotes, changing topic. So what I started doing was I started extracting those 2 to 4 minutes into clips and then trying to trim those down to anywhere between 1.5 to 3.5 minutes so that you had a small extract of our conversation as a clip. Yeah. And then you basically are getting sort of the similar thing. You're not getting the production value of the nice whiteboarding, and you're not getting the production value of nice, bullets on the screen that help the person watching it. But I stopped doing it because it became too much work, because there's so many clips that I think are valuable. So maybe setting a limit. Maybe I only get 2 clips per show and then put that up on a clip channel. They can't stay on the same channel. So takeaways from this. I can't do a podcast on a channel and clips on that channel because YouTube is punishing me for doing that. YouTube absolutely can't understand what we're doing and can't understand how to send it and serve it up to people. So I can't do both on the same. But I'm willing to create another channel because we can just cross promote between our channels all day long. Like, for example, on the clip channel, at the end of one of our clips, we could link back to the main podcast it came from. Well, if you want to hear more about this topic or related topics to this, go click back here, and here's a link to the video it came from, and then here's a link to subscribe to the Agile Podcast channel.
I think that's valid. As long as there's a link so they can follow through, I think that's a good way to do it. The other thing is with hindsight, so it won't happen now, but maybe later, we can look back and see how people are consuming those clips. Like, if there's enough traction there, we maybe then bump it up to 3. Not now, maybe way down the line, and then see how that goes. And please give us feedback. Let us know what you want to see.
I'm pretty committed to creating a separate clip channel for what we're doing, but I don't know if you can't migrate. YouTube does not allow you to migrate some of your videos. You have to migrate all of your videos to another channel. It's all or nothing. So I'm not going to migrate all my videos, because once you migrate a video, migrating a video from one channel to another is the only way to keep your videos with all their view numbers and view counts and information. That's the only way you can do it. So I can't just click the playlist that all my clips are in and just move the playlist to the other channel, which you would think I'd be able to do that, right?
Yeah, that would be too easy.
Yeah, YouTube.
I think that's a good starting point. So just do 2.
Yeah,
clips.
I can commit to 2, I think. And the nice thing about 2, and the other thing, the release schedule for the podcast is every Friday. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably leave the podcast release schedule on Friday. And then maybe I'll release clips on alternate days to that Friday. So it'll be like Friday, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or something like a clip will come out on Monday, a clip will come out on Wednesday, a podcast will come out on Friday. The clips will be coming out on the clip channel, and the podcast will be coming out on the podcast channel.
So we'll lead with the clips. I think that's fine too, because it whets the appetite, lets us know if people are looking at them at all or not. But regardless, the podcast is going out anyway. Because there is an audience that's just going to look for the big podcast.
Right, yeah. Well, the clips are specifically a YouTube medium.
Yeah.
And the podcast is both audio. And, I get a whole bunch of traction from audio that I may or may not get off of YouTube. I got to think about the production value on clips, though. I probably need to research a bit more what I can do in editing. Because if we start going into clips that are cut out of the podcast, kind of the whiteboard idea that we were talking about before, I think it's probably the number one place to start. So when we start are getting deep into a topic and start listing things, I think putting a whiteboard up in the middle between us, cutting to the wide angle, before we move off of a point. It's probably a discipline thing between us when we're talking more than anything else. Before we move off of a point, coming back to the wide angle and then listing the summary of the point, or maybe before we get into something.
Yeah, we could do the typical, here's what I'm going to talk about, and then do the talking and then say, here's what I just told you, kind of thing. Yeah. But I like the preface, and then afterwards I like that quick summary. I think if we can find a way to kind of embed a whiteboard or something with some writing on it, that would be sweet.
The problem is the whiteboard, like there are two things happening here. This is bringing us back to is it a pre-packaged clip channel, or is it just your part of the conversation channel?
Right.
What I think is I can extract a part of the conversation to be in a clip and then edit it down so all the little side paths and whatever are kind of snipped out of the, and then what you'll get is you'll get to be in the middle of a conversation, but that conversation has been trimmed to only have the most important, valuable bits. And then as we go through the conversation, I can note the points on like the whiteboard as we talked about them. So it'd be sort of like, instead of saying, hey, we're about to talk about how to do a sprint planning. Well, I think the most valuable pieces of a sprint planning are, number 1, you need to find a room. And number 2, that room needs to be stocked with donuts. And number 3, everyone needs to eat the donuts. I'm like, instead of doing like that and then talking about donuts for 20 minutes, we'd
segue into what kind of donuts and all that stuff.
We'll just talk about what successful sprint plannings have been like for us, and then I'll edit that down viciously to get to whatever. It doesn't have to be 2 minutes. It can be 5 minutes.
Yeah. So I think as long as the editing only gets rid of all of that peripheral stuff that we often get into, but we maintain the core crux of it, I think we're fine.
Yeah. Well, as long as everything we talk about and every example we talk through has a point. You know what I mean? In that conversation. So it becomes a practice in editing to only make it very, very specific about the points. Now, the challenge with that is that might turn off some people.
They can watch the full podcast, though, right?
You're right. Yeah.
So it's not like we're completely ditching that.
Yeah.
Because it'll be, we don't want it to look like it's scripted or sterile or anything. So those people can watch the full podcast, right?
Yeah.
But I think to be fair to those that are just looking at the short clips, we really need to have discipline around like how we're presenting it and what we're presenting so it's visible.
Yeah.
And that way they get the maximum value.
Okay. I feel this is one of those conversations that we're just going to kind of go back and forth on, because I keep coming back to like the product goal of the podcast was just to capture real-time conversations. That was what the original product goal of the podcast was. I was like, I'm just going to have conversations with people who know what they're talking about, people that I respect in the field, people I enjoy having conversations with, capture the full conversation, and then let it be as if other people were in the room listening to us. And if they take value out of it, great. And if they don't, like, it
was worth every penny they didn't pay for. Yeah. But we're not going away from that.
No,
right? I mean, the full podcast is exactly that, right? It's just that now we started to do clips, so I figure maybe that's a different product. I don't know. We'll figure it out. I mean, there's no set way. We're just inspecting that as we go forward.
The clips will be a different product. The question there is how much time and effort to put into that other product, and how to know when it is being successful and when to cut it off, basically. Because I can tell you, I was putting a lot of time and effort into those other clips, and you saw the stats. Like, the clips were pulling views; they were pulling a good deal of views. But again, I'm not sure if it was YouTube that was freaking out, not knowing what we were doing, or if something else was going on. But I'd like to start a channel clean,
right?
Just with our best clips, come to the table with our best clips, and seeing what the performance looks like. I'm guessing that it will take off massively compared to the main Agile Podcast channel. But again, I wish I had a way to measure what I suspect.
So I think we reserve the right to change just about anything, right? Going forward.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other thing is I want to actually take some good amount of time to meet up, to talk about topics, to make sure that whatever conversations we're having are like knock it out of the park type of conversations, not just kind of like we're phoning it in because we got to be here, because we got to keep the lights on or whatever.
Yeah, not checking a box. So going forward from January onwards, we're going to be meeting in person for Lean Beer.
Yeah.
Maybe we can see at that point who's interested.
Yeah.
Who do we like to invite? I have a couple of people in mind whose names I wrote down on a sticky.
Curtis was on. He was on episode before, but he said he would come back on.
Awesome.
And I had a category for him 3 weeks ago on Curtis's. I don't know what to call LinkedIn. I was going to say on Curtis's wall.
It's on a professional social media site.
He says, reminder of the week: Agile isn't about doing things faster; it's about doing them better. If your goal is managing to get efficiency, you will only be left with heartbreak and sadness. If your goal is, air quotes, people, then everyone wins, because Agile is about people first and foremost, both the people who work within your organization and the customers you serve. Take care of them and they'll take care of you. I said, oh boy, we could probably sit down and think of a half dozen or so efficiency versus effectiveness situations that come up on a regular basis and go over what to expect in each. Basically examples of each.
Yeah. That would be good, because we do talk about those two things.
The title of that podcast basically would be efficiency versus effectiveness. And then I'll just put that in the title, or like, I can't think of another title right off the top of my head. Basically the pros and cons of efficiency over effectiveness, or effectiveness over efficiency, whatever. Balance of efficiency. I mean, you're looking for some kind of balance. But yeah, that's managing to get efficiency without effectiveness. And of course, people are caught in the middle of whatever you do, but that's kind of my topic for him, was efficiency versus effectiveness. So where I think we go into that podcast is we probably could meet here an hour ahead of time.
We could,
and brainstorm up.
Absolutely could. In the metrics world, there are lots of examples on that.
Yeah, metrics would be a good one. Because that's one of the ones we hammer on, capacity or whatever, utilization.
Yeah, right.
Or it would be called capacity, but if you like lift up the covers a little bit, you'd be like, oh God, it's really utilization.
Keep busy metrics.
That's exactly what it is.
So there's a couple of dozen people there. I think we should be able to get.
Yeah, there's a lot of people on this list.
So what do we not have on the list there? Like a role or anything like that? Like, is there a role? Do we have developers?
Yeah. You make a good point. Yeah. So here's my list. So for a future guest list, Agile coaches, I feel we've got plenty of Agile coaches and Scrum Masters. Like,
yeah,
but got tons of them. Thanks, everything's great. Consultants, same thing. Got plenty of them. Great, awesome. The people I would like to have on would be product people. Right? We always ask Mike Miller to come back on.
Sure.
Product people I'd like to have on. So there's I'm going to define 3 categories here. We're going to do red, green, yellow, green, red, green.
Rag? Red, amber, green?
Red, amber, green. We're going to do red, amber, green. Green, I got tons of people. We've had tons of people on before. I know it'd be fairly easy to get these guests. And their opinion is valued. Like, we have a valuable conversation. The amber color, I know a few people in this category, but not like a ton of people. I'm going to put product people, product manager, product owner. I'm going to put them together in this category here.
Sure.
And then like the red category is I would have to go out and like ask for people on LinkedIn that are interested. Cause like the HR one, for example, I very desperately would like to have somebody who can talk about the topic of HR in Agile, that understands Agile.
Right, not just any HR person.
Yes.
Yeah.
And same thing with recruiters.
I'd love to get some finance guys in here too, or ladies. Talk about finance in Agile.
Yes. Company founders would be an interesting topic. It would be an interesting category for me. I feel like that would be another one where I have to go out. I'm gonna actually mark that one as amber, because I actually know some founders. There's very small companies and stuff like that in the area.
Fine. Yeah.
But DevOps engineers, same thing. Like, we know 1 or 2, but that's about it. Like, I don't know very many at all. And then management and leadership kind of go together, but they also sort of don't.
Right. right?
You know.
They don't, there's enough differences there
Yeah.
to warrant separate lines for leadership and managements, like managers, right? Yeah, I agree.
And then I'm interested in having just getting people that have their MBA to discuss like what did you learn about managing teams and products, and basically what did you learn about leadership in your MBA? Like people that have recently gone through and completed their MBA.
Okay, because I have one of them, but I did that ages ago.
No, I want to know. I want to know what these people are being taught now. Are they taught different models? Are they taught that these models are just like whatever? Are they taught one over another, or are they taught from the perspective of you need to know them all because you need to be more marketable to wherever you might decide to work? It's kind of like why you're taught mathematics. Like, why do I ever need to know how to figure out a squared plus b squared equals c squared? Well, you don't know what you're going to do later in your life, so just learn all the theories that you can.
Right.
Is that the way they're taught? You know?
Yeah. I'd like to know that of people that, like you said, those recent MBAs.
Because I feel the MBA category could also wrap up the micromanagement category. Could also wrap up the middle management middle managers is another category all of its own.
It's off its own. So the MBA one, you're right about that, but also it will encompass the finance. What are they being taught in terms of finance as well?
Right.
That's a big portion of an MBA curriculum. What about school teachers?
I don't know anyone I know like one or two people that are school teachers.
So, so it doesn't have to be a school teacher who's actually a school teacher now. Like they may have taught up until recently, right?
This is one that I would feel comfortable going out on LinkedIn again to be like with the channel. Hey, we shoot on Fridays. One of those ones that I would go out posting to looking for people in the area.
Well, marketing's another one. Do we know many people who can talk about
not here in the area? I used to know a couple people in marketing that lived here in Tampa area that I used to work with, but not anymore. You know what else is not on here? UI UX. But I don't know if that really fits in the banner of what we're doing. I don't know how.
An agile topic for sure. So I mean, we can definitely have somebody in for.
It's a product topic. You know what I mean? It kind of.
Yeah, it straddles across. Right.
Everything. Yeah. So across everything.
The minute we say UX, it does.
Yeah. I like hiring managers as well as a great category. Like
that's awesome. I like that. Yeah, that's the other side of like the recruiter category you have.
Right. Yes.
It's the in-house side.
Yeah.
I like that. Then what did you mean? You have a category for industrial age management.
I don't know. Any like. Typical project managers I think of as industrial age management. Okay. And I mean, I don't know what I was getting at.
You've got project managers too as a category. So is that just a duplicate, or do you mean like PMOs and all of that kind of traditional thinking?
That's kind of what it means. Yeah, I mean, it's like the opposite of... Actually, I don't really... Maybe we should dig into what I mean by industrial age management, because it's more like people who are the opposite of the Deming mindset, or the people that are the opposite of, I don't know what
non-agile maybe, or
non-agile management.
Yeah, CNC. I don't want to overuse the term though.
Software development shops that are doing waterfall. The thing that we were looking at that I can't pronounce because it's Welsh again.
Kneffin?
Yeah, the Kneffin. This would be the category of whatever they call the category of the knowns, the things that are clear, I guess. I think that's where they're...
Clarity or something?
Let's go look it up. Kneffin framework. It says Seinfin is what it looks like.
Obvious.
Obvious, yeah. The category of obvious. Can I get a better example? Oh yeah, obvious. So the category that's obvious is the best practice. You just go out and you copy best practice, and then you do that, right?
Oh yeah. What just came to mind is all those people the hangers-on that followed the Spotify model years after Spotify stopped doing the Spotify model. Because they thought that this is how you do things, right? So we're going to do that.
So that was like
blindly.
Spotify never. Like on more research, Spotify never did that. Like that one guy, I can't remember his name, that wrote that model, that wrote the blog or whatever it was that came out in. He was just like theorizing or something that he wanted to kind of move this system to, but I don't think they ever actually did that.
Well, they tried it, and then they figured out the fact that it's not just practices. It's so intertwined with your culture. And they grapple with it. In the meantime, all these other people that were copying them said, if we do this, we'll just be successful overnight. And they continued to try to do that, even though their culture was so different and non-aligned probably to the practices, right?
Somebody commented on one of the videos. I think I was our first or second. I don't remember whatever video I said that. I was like, I'd hate Spotify's app. I remember it was
someone commented on that.
One of our real early videos. I was like,
it wouldn't have been number one because that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, no, it must have been number 2 or 3 or something like that. And I was like, man, Spotify's app sucks. and you know what? When I think about it, if you go down, like we can go way down a rabbit hole with Spotify. Probably should stick a pin in it for now and add to my list of topics reasons Brian hates Spotify. But their app isn't that great, man. For the amount of money flowing into that company and the amount of usage, like their app isn't that great. And it's not like they're turning around and giving all the artists and independent contributors to their platform any money.
Right.
Like they're giving the artists like pennies on the dollar, maybe if that. Like they're as bad as record companies were back in the day for underpaying artists. But so they have their own problems, unrelated to software, their own their own ethical, moral issues that they have to grapple with. I mean, or not, if they're evil executives, they don't have to grapple with it because what the hell with these people? It's our application. We do what we want. It's fun to be king, right? While you're on top.
I was going to say, even for a day.
Yeah, even for a day. So even their company, I'm starting to suspect now, even the holy grail of agility, people hold up the Spotify model and try to copy it and try to apply it.
They stopped doing the Spotify model right after they started. There's a reason for that. So when they delved into it, pretty quickly they found out it isn't the practices. It's how am I trying to say this? It is so ingrained with people's psyche, that unless they're motivated to follow those practices, it's going to fall flat. And it did quickly for them, right? But that guy did a good job of publishing it, and everybody's just like, okay, this is what we have to do.
Right, yeah.
This is the holy grail, and it is not.
Yeah, but where I'm going is, is it his model or is it the Spotify model?
Well, anything he came up with, it belongs to the company.
I understand, but it wasn't like the company, again, they don't use it. They never arguably ever used it. You know, they don't continue to use it. They're not using it, right? Did they ever use it? I think they dabbled in it. Did they ever use it successfully is the question. And I don't believe the answer to that is a yes. So then why is it, see, this is one of those, I'm recalling the conversations that I wanted to have, which there's I'm going to go add it to the list.
I was going to say, let's annotate
before I forget it right now.
This is a good one to unravel. This is sort of like following a different diet, right? They're all fads in a way, but if you just follow a diet, you'll be fine. You're going to lose weight, you're going to get fit, you're going to get healthy, etc. So whichever one you follow, I don't know.
Sorry, dude. I was like, I'm listening, but I just wrote down Spotify model is the Paris Hilton of agile models. Because it's like just from what I know about the inner workings of Spotify, it does not sound like the revolutionary, cutting edge, agile, distributed company or whatever. It sounds like any other company who just happened to have an agile coach who was with them for a while because he's not there anymore, who was with them at that time, who wrote an article that tapped into whatever at the time and it blew up. And because he happened to work at Spotify and the company has a lot of name recognition, that it became the Spotify model rather than I really need to go find his name because I hate.
It's pretty easy to find his name. I forget, but I like the parallel with Paris Hilton. All it takes is that one snippet to come out, right? And you're famous. When you search Spotify, the first hit is, why is Spotify not working for me?
Oh, here. There you go.
Iverson. That's right. Iverson.
Henrik.
Hey.
How you say?
Never rely on my memory. Nyberg.
Nyberg?
Yeah.
Henrik Nyberg and Anders Iverson published a white paper, Scaling Agile at Spotify.
Well, was that just about scaling or the whole thing? I don't know.
This was the original article.
2012. I thought it was
2012. I'm going to download it.
Prior to that.
Well, we can deal with this later on a later episode.
Absolutely. This would be a good topic.
Honestly, this should be a whole episode of its own, honestly. We just came up with a whole nother topic. Where's ideas?
Beautiful.
I'll save that PDF because this should be a whole topic of its own. So we got on that topic because that was one of the conversations I wanted to have with another Agile coach that I would like to have on. Because the other topic for him is there's all these trainers out there that they just can teach you out of the book, but they can't really tell you. There are some people out there that can relate to you concept as well as stories of how it actually went down and stuff like that. But how do you know?
Agile theorists.
Yeah, how do you know before you go take their class? Like, how do you know? You know?
Yeah, you don't really know because they're good at marketing this stuff, right? So when you're in the class, you figured that out, and you go, well, these are Agile theorists.
Well, I've seen a lot of people go and take the Mountain Goat software Mike Cohn class because he has name recognition in the field, so they're looking for that.
Well, that and the fact that he's actually practiced what he's saying, right?
Yeah.
It still to this day continues to.
Yeah.
That has to play into it somewhere. But then you've got so many people that you don't know if they ever worked and did what they're teaching you to do.
Yeah, so that's another. So those topics are going to go on our list. So now we're building future topics, right? So topic number 1 is basically how do you identify trainers that are actually like can talk to talk? You know what I mean? Can back you up. I don't know if you're taking a training class. Should you ask? Is it fair to ask for more from a training class? Is it fair to because you're taking a training class with someone. Are you taking it for the purpose of like adopting a mentor for life, basically? A lot of those people that run training classes, they tell you like, hey, reach out to me if you ever need any advice or whatever. I've never actually tried to do that.
Yeah, I think so. I seem to remember a class where that was also offered, and I tried to reach out to that trainer, and basically all I got was, yeah, I do a class for that too. You know, sign up for this class, right? It's like, okay, it's just a hook, basically.
Yeah.
So I'm not sold on that idea.
And then the other topic was kind of deconstructing Spotify's model, and it's not even deconstructing Spotify's model. It's more about like deconstructing like why the myth has turned into a legend. You know, like why has it become a legend, and then the dangerous part of it becoming a legend is it didn't become a legend because of anything good. They just posted a white paper, and then the white paper kind of grew, and it's like, oh, we could be doing that or whatever. It wasn't like a study. Whatever. It wasn't like a study or something that proved that something worked. It was just a conceptual. I wouldn't even call it a white paper.
It's a model that's easy to explain, right? And it's easy to understand. But those are theories. On a theoretical level, conceptual level, it's easy to understand. You try and put it in practice, you run into issues right away, right? Yeah. And that's what they found themselves.
Yeah.
And from my own perspective, I think where they went wrong, and I do believe that, right, is they didn't come back and update the model and say, for this to work, here are the prerequisites that we found are necessary. They didn't do that. So people just took the original publication, right? We won't call it white paper.
Those guys are gone from the company.
They've gone, but they could still come back and amend it because it doesn't work as it stands.
Yeah, again, they could if, again, there's enough little threads hanging on this tapestry on the wall that everyone looks up to, where I'm like, well, how come people turn over in 3 years at that company? And how come their app kind of stinks for real basic stuff? And how come, like, example, when Spotify posts jobs, they don't allow people that are in Colorado to work at Spotify because Colorado has a law that in order to post jobs for people who are in Colorado, you have to put the salary or the salary band, basically, not the exact salary, but you have to put the band of salary in the job description.
Right.
So certain companies are just like, oh, then we won't. Oh, really? Then we won't hire anybody in Colorado then because of that. Is that really a problem to post to like within a 30 to 40 grand range in your salary? That's really a problem for you as a company?
Yeah, really. It's just
so there's enough little threads where I'm like, and then they never actually fully implemented the model and kept up with what they became famous for. There's enough little things out there that I'm starting to suspect there's a deeper story here that I want to start talking at, but like for the purposes, I don't want to start off the cuff throwing out a bunch of accusations here. I'd rather take it offline.
Right.
I'd rather maybe we could reach out to any of those people. I don't think that would be worthy of having a remote podcast. It's talking to those people like, look, this thing that you did in 2012, 10 years ago, basically, blew up. Everybody talks about it. There are companies here that are just trying to wholesale copy it Okay.
Yep.
Why?
Many have tried, right? Many have tried to copy it and they've given up.
Yeah.
And some are continuing to struggle with it, let's just say.
Mm-hmm.
But there's not a single one who has made it, quote unquote, work, even for themselves.
Yeah.
Why is that? That would be a great question to ask one of those guys.
What would the question be? Why has nobody copied your model and succeeded with
why
it?
has nobody succeeded with it, incling the original company, right? So we'll get personal, but yeah.
They only worked there. I again, my memory could be failing me. I probably should research this before I go shooting off my mouth. And say
We
so,
will
but
do that. We'll research it before the actual episode.
I think one of those people who authored that was only there for a couple of years. So like, if you had this grand theory in your head enough where it exploded and everybody in the Agile field basically knows the name Spotify and knows you have even if they don't know specifics, they knew you have a model. They knew you have something that was popular. But then, like, you just, like, moved on to something else, or you didn't see it through, or maybe you became... I don't know what the reasons why those people left. I'd have to look into it, because I'm like... I'm from the other things that I'm seeing, I'm suspecting that, like, this model might not be the best thing to hold up for everyone as a shining example.
I don't think it is. I don't think any model is really. I'm looking at every model in its own merit, So let's have that fair conversation again. Without shooting them down. Maybe we'll shoot them down later. But once there's enough rationale.
Well, we started this conversation by why I still hate Spotify.
That's a different topic.
So I'm definitely
as a subscriber, I hate Spotify, but
Yeah.
I subscribe because my daughter uses my account.
Yeah. Well, we have to get that. That'll be one where we get it. We'll get a neutral party and maybe
A
somebody
non-subscriber.
Yeah,
if you're a
maybe-
non-subscriber and you've heard of Spotify, let us know. We can have you on the podcast.
Yeah. Or maybe somebody who really, really likes Spotify. That would be fun too. Like,
Sure.
Okay, I'm gonna close this for now because I think we're good. So the topics we got out of here were trainers who obviously don't work in the field, right? Spotify model. We're gonna sit down with Ed, go over the mindset book. He was just like, just schedule it, and I'm not gonna do anything until you schedule it. And then a couple weeks before that, so I'll get with him. I'll get back about the BA skill set because I really think like the trends in product management that I'm seeing are just all like evolution of the BA stuff. We never did podcast on estimation. That's a solid one.
Yep.
We never did the day in life ones, although I don't know if they're kind of weak. That's why we never
I don't know.
did.
So a day in the life is a podcast by itself, right?
Yeah.
For each of those
these
roles?
are each of these are
We
podcasts.
we have some Scrum Masters and POs or PMs that we can do that with.
Active listening. I'd like to do a podcast on active listening. Number one, because I'm being selfish because I think I have to learn a lot about active listening. So having somebody on who kind of sprinkles the breadcrumbs,
dust.
sprinkles the breadcrumbs down where I
yeah.
can start researching them and figuring out what I want to do from there.
Yeah.
That would help me, I think. And the way I feel is like, well, if it helps me, it's got to help at least one other person, my other listener.
Yeah, and then gamifying things. That's a good podcast right there.
Yeah.
The importance of including games in your activities.
Yes. Yeah. Well, those are our future topics of interest.
How many have we got there just as a matter of interest? It looks like a dozen.
Yeah, but I want to go through and I want to clean up this list. MVP was another topic that I'd like to have as just a topic by itself, just a podcast just on MVP. Working through it. That'd be one where we need a product person.
Yep. You have some there that are kind of allied. Like release planning, you've got there it is, release management.
Yeah.
These could be in the same podcast maybe.
So what I want to do with the topic list is I want to go through these, group as many as possible, and put them together, and then whatever random garbage is left, that'll be our podcast of our Jeopardy potpourri category of topics that don't fit into
I'll
any
take
other.
potpourri for 400.
That's
Alex.
right. That's right.
That'll be a good one though, I think. We'll go off tangents off of a podcast that's full of tangents.
That's right. It's the Tangents podcast. I had a conversation with someone recently about asking about a pay raise, and I don't remember why, but my advice to them was, you shouldn't ask for a pay raise. I was like, you should try to get your direct boss, or whoever you work for, to ask for the pay raise on your behalf. Because people trying to get pay raises on behalf of other people are usually more successful than you getting a pay raise.
Yeah.
Because by the time you go to get a pay raise, you're already finding another job at that point, you know. Yeah. But there are some things that, I mean, like people that just don't want to move companies. The obvious answer would be like, just move companies, and then if you really like the other company, move back in a year or a year and a half, and that's how you'll make $40,000 more because your current company is never going to give you that kind of money, which is true. I understand. Yeah,
but that strategy doesn't always work because you burn your bridges if you leave, and then when you come back, same people are in place. They may not like you.
Yep.
But yeah, there's plenty of topics like that there.
Well, so I've got a few things to do. So going through this list is kind of near the top of my priority. I think what we learned this year is how to, like, the process of doing the podcast has kind of been set in stone. We know how to do that now. We know, like, the AV problems we had earlier, they're hammered out. Editing takes a lot less time. I'm doing a little bit of work on automation. I probably should have written down the key points here so we could prioritize our backlog.
Still do that.
No, because I've been so all over the place. I'd have to go rewatch our video to actually get the backlog. But I think the automation stuff probably should be top priority for me.
Yeah, because the payoff is huge.
Because the payoff is basically infinite on the other side of that for how many videos and stuff we put out. And then while that's going on, I think where we can leverage the fact that there's two of us is on reaching out to guests and stuff like that. I'm starting to need a whole CRM system now at this point. Like, these are our contacts that we're trying to sell, and like this is
last contact date, last response.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
I'm starting to feel,
Well, that would be a good addition if you just add a tab to it. Then I can keep it updated as well. And when in real time.
Yeah, I mean, because I got to tell you, like, the hardest, like the video editing and tracking down stats and trying different things. That stuff's not difficult to me. And even the clips, like, I know how to do the clips. I just don't have the extra time that it takes to make that successful.
Understandable.
With the way that I was doing things. Now that we kind of made a new commitment here, I can extract 2 clips. I can kind of live with that. And the podcast will go once a week. So if I can concentrate on 1 podcast a week, 2 clips out of that podcast that kind of precede it, that would be better, right? If we can get it, we got to get ahead.
Yeah, I think that would be a better way to go sequentially like that.
Yeah. Then I think that's a maintainable cadence.
This is strive for a couple of months. Yeah, it goes. Because if 2 turns out to be a bit more time consuming than you have time for, maybe we start with 1 and then see how it goes.
Yeah.
But at least having a mini kind of snippet.
Yeah.
And then if that whets your appetite, then the big one's coming on Friday. Yeah. I like that sequence. Right? Yeah. It's not necessarily teasing because you're still getting full value for that little one. You're just getting more.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know if we came to any points at all, rather than just ramble about the current state of the product of the podcast and the potential future directions of the podcast. We talked about.
Yeah, we did. A few different directions.
Yeah, a few different directions.
Yeah. I think I have a bit of a clearer picture now in my mind. Where we're going.
One of the things that we stumbled onto that I didn't write down and I didn't think about was having remote guests. I think we should do a test session with remote to see what it looks like with us sitting in the room and then having somebody remote. Because, like, all this space that's in the middle of us, where is it? All the space in the middle of us here on the screen, we could put a window right in the middle of us with the remote person, And basically just keep, like, you and I would just be on the wide angle the entire time. And I only have to set one camera up.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm fine with just being on the wide angle the entire time.
Sure.
And talking to whoever it is, as long as their audio, that would be my stipulation. But, like, dude, your audio has to be good. Like, I can't have, like, you're on the old school Apple earphones or whatever.
No. Yeah, I agree. So there's some minimum that they have to meet.
Yes.
Decent audio is a must.
Yeah,
agreed. Well, we'll find out if we just do a safe experiment, right, with somebody in our circle, so to speak. It's really getting people together. So.
Right. And I also like the capitalizing on where LinkedIn is missing, like, a huge blind spot of LinkedIn. LinkedIn should have been jumping on professional podcasting. LinkedIn should have been like, oh, we're going to have a whole wing of our company that caters to. No, there's another podcast topic of, like, what big companies that are missing.
Yeah, that's a great topic.
Yeah,
because there are so many of them.
Blind spots of big companies. LinkedIn should have jumped on this. Like, you already have all the professionals on your space. Like it's a very, very small hop to one side. It's just a jump to the left for you to say, oh, here's this space where professionals can talk to each other, and we'll not moderate, but we'll host the.
It would cost them nothing because they have the advantage of scale.
Right. Huge blind spot.
Yeah, I agree. But what a nice topic, though, because I think we can talk for a while on that topic with so many companies that have missed the spot.
Yeah, that's another product-centric. Like, you'll get product interviews will be like, take an existing application and add a new feature to it, or what would you change about whatever application. Product interviews always have questions like that.
Yeah,
that would be a podcast. Tell me about an application that you would change, like a product people type of conversation. Anyway, so I know we already wrapped up this podcast, but we're going to wrap up again, a second wrap up.
This is a wrap up off the wrap up, so now it's wrapped twice.
That's right. So smash that like, smash your phone, and smash the patriarchy or whatever. I don't know. Like, what am I talking about? Smash LinkedIn.
Click subscribe.
That's right. Subscribe to the channel, because every subscription helps small channels on YouTube,
which in turn helps more people like you. I just want to say happy holidays. Stay safe, everybody.
That's right. Happy New Year if you're getting this on the 31st and you listen to it before fireworks. Try not to get burned. I know you guys are going to be playing with fire this